Good morning. This is KELOLAND on the go with all you need to know in news and weather as you start your day.
Sioux Falls police are investigating a weekend homicide. Officers responded to an apartment building on East 12th Street near the downtown post office early Saturday morning.
They found a 28-year-old man in the hallway with multiple gunshot wounds. He died later at the hospital. While there are no arrests yet, police say the crime is isolated and the public is not in danger. An attempted shoplifting turned violent at a Sioux Falls convenience store early yesterday morning. Police say the man didn't get far when he took some liquor bottles from the store on West Russell Street.
One of the clerks confronted him at the doorway. He ended up strangling her, and then a second clerk came over and he used a bottle, one of the liquor bottles, and hit the second employee with that. The man then ended up leaving. He didn't, I think some of the bottles either fell or broke, but he did not leave with any merchandise.
The suspect, 19-year-old Peyton LeClaire of Sioux Falls, is charged with second-degree robbery. Police say LeClaire had shoplifted an item from the store earlier in the night. A Sioux Falls homeowner woke up early yesterday morning to discover someone breaking into their garage. Police say 19-year-old Neve Spotted Warbonnet got into the home through an unlocked door.
Police say she took some belongings from the basement before going into the garage and trying to steal a car.
One of the owners heard some noise, woke up, saw the woman there, basically confronted her. She kind of dumped the stuff that she had taken and then left. She was found nearby.
Spotted Warbonnet was charged with burglary, criminal entry into a motor vehicle, and grand theft. Prosecutors say the homeowner wrestled her out of the vehicle. The judge set her bond at $5,000 cash only.
A convicted sex offender is facing new charges. 60-year-old Thomas Nitro is in the Minnehaha County Jail.
In this latest case, he's accused of solicitation and sexual exploitation of a minor. He was convicted of indecent contact with a 12-year-old girl in northwest Iowa in 2015.
Now let's get a check of our weather with meteorologist Scott Munn. Sounds like we better enjoy today, Scott.
Oh, I think so. You know, temperatures today in the 50s and 60s to cover many locations. Happens with mostly sunny skies. And then as we get into tomorrow, much colder air is on the way. We're also talking snow in the forecast. In the meantime, we'll warm to at least 57. Sioux Falls, 52 in Aberdeen, 59 Pierre, and 63 in Rapid City. More details on your forecast with Brian coming up.
Thank you, Scott. The South Dakota Supreme Court will hear oral arguments on 7 cases today and tomorrow at the Johnson Fine Arts Center on the campus of Northern State University in Aberdeen. KELOLAND News will live stream oral arguments for 3 of the cases right here on KELOLAND.com.
The cases involve a South Dakota Highway Patrol trooper crash, an examination and survey law involving Summit Carbon Solutions and landowners, and using a personal diary as evidence for a rape investigation. You'll find a complete list of the cases in a KELOLAND.com original by Eric Mayer. A task force is still weighing options about what to do with the animal collection at the Delbridge Museum in Sioux Falls. They met Wednesday to hear legal options for the collection. Others working with the city are calling for the group for communications issues.
Pat Starr and other city council members are drafting a resolution to make the rest of the Delbridge work group meetings open and recorded for the public.
We've kind of had a verbal agreement with the administration and the mayor. Now we're just going to have to put it in writing. So the resolution will say that the meetings have to be open to the public and they have to be at a reasonable time for people who have a job or work.
The next work group meeting will take place in early April.
From California to Massachusetts, one voice will be heard at every indoor football league game this season. The league has hired Sioux Falls musician Denham McDermott, who grew up in Aberdeen, to create a song to be played during every contest.
The end result was the song The Indoor War.
I got to give these guys credit. What they, from finding the beat to coming up with the lyrics to, doing the video to the whole editing process. It's a lot of work.
It's tough to write a song about football because it can be kind of corny, So I had to write something that I felt like all 3 experiences worked as an owner, as a consumer, as a fan, and as a player.
If you'd like to see the Indoor War in person, the Sioux Falls Storm play their first home game of the season on Sunday, April 14th. That's a look at some of our top stories.
Now let's get one last look at your weather with meteorologist Brian Karstens. Brian?
It's a nice spring day today. Temperatures in the 50s, even some 60-degree weather. We're starting off the day actually in the 30s. So if you can handle a little of that wind, that'll be out of the northwest today, Sioux Falls area. 15 to 25 is our going forecast. But it also represents the last day of above normal weather for a long time. It could be until further notice, actually, which is pretty remarkable considering how warm it's been for so long. I think most of us have grown accustomed to this. But the weather in Kettleland, boy, it changes, doesn't it? And we're going to start witnessing some of these classic things that we typically talk about in our spring. And, well, here's an example tomorrow. For one thing, we're looking at a north wind tonight. That's going to automatically cut our highs tomorrow quite a bit. I think we'll stay in the 30s in Sioux Falls. If we add these clouds to the forecast, that will reinforce that cooling. Far northeast South Dakota may be even hard-pressed to get above 30 degrees in the afternoon. Now, that being said, we're going to flip the page into Thursday night, and Friday morning, and there is another system that's going to come out into the plains. We've been talking about some snow chances, and this first one looks like it's going to lay out some nuisance snows more toward the North Dakota, South Dakota border. I think a 1 to 3 seems fairly likely. And also in the southeast, Sioux Falls, we may be prone to some snow with this. It's a little bit of a closer call with the temperatures being a little warmer. But if some of this moisture falls at night, say Thursday night, we could easily pick up at least some snow chance. There's the broader perspective on that. And you can see that strip of blue that skirts across our northern counties, kind of heads over diagonally toward the Twin Cities, getting into Friday morning. So we'll acknowledge that system, and then that'll push east, and then we'll get into Friday, which is at this point kind of an in-between day, as we're calling it, where we'll regroup. And then on Saturday, the first thing I want to point out on Saturday's forecast is we have some colder air entrenched. And let's assume for just a moment that we pick up that snowfall across the north and then into central Minnesota. Well, you start pushing a little wind off of that, and it's going to be pretty chilly on Saturday. And so with that in mind, I think we can already start to brew up at least some snow chances initially. I'd like to drop in that snow chance and actually ramp up the probability going into Sunday morning. We have kind of a wider spread chance of snow. Now, this type of system, there's enough now on the table here that we are going to put out this risk of heavy snow. The exact placement of that, we're not there yet. I think there's still plenty of time for these things to kind of bounce around. I wouldn't be opposed to actually pulling this scenario farther south. But what this does is it paints your classic March system. You probably have some thunderstorms on the front side of it. You probably have a messy mix in the middle, and then you'll have a transition zone into some snow. And all of these things can be going on in Kettleland quite easily. But at this point, I would say Sunday is the main day. Monday, we'll probably see a pullback. There is some talk about at least a second push coming up to our south. At this point, I want to make sure we make clear that that is clearly a secondary story, and maybe that will stay out of our viewing area. But at any rate, temperatures, yeah, look at how now the map has changed so much. We had all that gold and yellow and all these reds. Now we've got the purples and the below normal, and it's quite striking to see now where this is sitting for next week. Look at this purple and blue draped across a big part of the upper Midwest. In fact, it goes all the way to the Gulf Coast next week, and we're going to be below normal. There's no question about that. It's just a matter of how much snow are we going to see, and then how much that's going to reinforce these below average temperatures. So take today and enjoy it. That's the main thing we want to communicate. 57 Sioux Falls, and that's the last one. Yep, 30s tomorrow. We'll try to see if we can hold the 40s here on Thursday and Friday, and then the numbers ramp up on the odds of moisture there into the weekend. Sunday is an 80% chance of, I would say, mostly snow. There'll be some rain chance. Aberdeen will also get a good chance of snow for the weekend. And that's also true for Pierre and Rapid City. Now, the numbers on the snow side are definitely heavier East River versus West, but there'll be some there in the Black Hills. Stay tuned. A lot more on this subject online at kettleland.com.